Sutton, and today we're going to walk through creating virtual machines using EC2 instances. So from the top of my screen, I have some shortcuts, one including how to get to create a virtual machine. I'll select that, and this brings me to the main window. From the right-hand side, you'll see a button called Launch Instances. And from here, I can select that, and this is going to give me an option as to what Amazon machine image I want to use. Whether it's a community AMI from the marketplace, my own AMIs, or one supplied for quick starts. So I'll select quick start and I'll select the Amazon Linux option. Now when I select that, I now get to choose my instance type. Now you're going to notice there's going to be a plethora of options here. And each of these options is going to be predicated on the amount of CPU, memory, instance storage, whether it's EBS optimized or not, and what type of network performance you can expect. There's a lot of them here, so I'm just going to select a simple one called T2 Micro and go to Next. This is where I get to configure my instance details, including the number of instances I want to create, the network and subnet I want to place my instance in. In this example, we'll use the default network, which has multiple public subnets, as well as assigning IP addresses automatically or not, setting up my host name type, placement groups, capacity reservations, having it join a domain, setting it up with an IAM role to give it some predefined permissions. And we can set up all sorts of options, including bootstrapping. So in this example, I'm going to add some configuration that's going to make this system a web server. Alternatively, I could have linked it to a file. Once I have that in place, I can then go through and add storage. Now, when I add storage, it's going to come with a default root volume, but I can add other volumes as well. And for these volumes, it's going to include the device name, the whether I want to create it from a snapshot or not, as well as the volume type. Whether I'm going to use general purpose, I'm going to use provision optimized storage, and that will tell me what IOPS and throughput I'll get. And do I want to delete this disk when I delete the virtual machine? I can also set up for the volume to be encrypted. Now next, I'm going to add some tags. Tags are nothing more than key value pairs that we could apply to add as metadata to the instance. This can help us with bulk operations. This can help us with billing information, things like that. In my example, I'll add a couple key value pairs here, one for name equal demo, one for owner equal Mike, and I'll add a third one for department equal HR. It doesn't affect the actual running of the instance, but it does help in management. Once I have that in place, then I can go ahead and set up my firewall or security group. By default, I'm going to block all traffic inbound, allow all traffic outbound. Now, you're going to see a default rule in place here. Since this is a web server, we're going to change this. So I'm going to make this a firewall for my web servers. So I'll call it Web Server SG. I'll put in a description as well. And once I have that in place, I can add, remove, and modify rules to this firewall or security group. So once I have my description in place, you're going to notice we can apply rules to all sorts of different types of traffic. In my example, since we're using a web server, I'm going to select HTTP. It's going to be TCP protocol, port 80, and here I can decide whether I want to let a custom range reach it, let the world reach it, or just my IP. Since it's a web server, I'm going to select anywhere. I can add other rules to this as well. But in our example, we're just going to add a simple rule for HTTP traffic, and then we're going to go to review and launch. Now this is going to give me the details of my instances. And if I need to make any changes, I can do that here. But I'm going to verify everything is in place. And once I do that, I can then go to the launch button on the right side. Now I'm going to be prompted for a new key pair. Now I have a choice here. When I select this option, I can either A, choose a key pair I already have, create a key pair now and download it, or proceed without a key pair. And that's going to be my choice. I have to acknowledge this, then launch the instance. Now, once I launch the instance, this is going to go ahead and get everything started. Now, you'll see View Instances that I'll select, and you'll see my instance. Now, I'm going to hit refresh, and when I do, it's going to go ahead and update the status of my instance. So we'll give it a moment, and when I hit refresh, we should see our instance go from pending to running. Once it shows up as running, now it's going to start with the boot up process, which is going to include running our script and configuring our software the way that script has it set up. This will take anywhere between 3 to 7 minutes. So what we'll do is when it's finished, we'll come back and take a look at what we have. Okay, our instance is now up and running. We can see that with a status check of 2 of 2 checks passed, which means everything was able to complete successfully. When I select the instance, you're going to notice all of these details, things like instance ID, host name, public IP address, private IP address, as well as some of the security details, our security group we created, our network configuration, our VPC, our subnets, things like that will be showing up here as well. And also our storage configuration. In our example, we didn't make a lot of changes. We just have the one volume. We could also see our status checks that they did complete, and we can look at our report for that. We could also pull up some basic monitoring information, which really shows how we're using some of the basic resources, CPU, network, and we also see the tags we created as part of our instance. So let's go ahead and see if we can connect to this instance. So I'm going to open up a browser to my instance. I'm going to check to make sure that the IP address is there properly. It's going to say HTTPS, but we made ours HTTP. So I'll change that, and we can see that I can now reach my instance and the web server completed successfully. So my name is Mike Sutton, and this was just a quick demonstration on how to create EC2 instances. Look for other videos like this from ROI.